Allow me to extend a warm welcome to all the viewers on the internet and around the world. It is sunrise on YouTube, morning on Facebook, noon on Twitter, midday on Threads, afternoon on Twitch, sunset on Instagram, and evening on Rumble. I am your host, the Ancient One, the Bachelor Supreme, the Phantom Menace, he who remains, and the master of the deceptive arts. We are broadcasting live directly from the sanctum of solitude and the citadel at the end of time. Good evening, everyone. I'm the Ancient One, the Bachelor Supreme, the Phantom Menace, he who remains, the master of the deceptive arts, and I come to you today as the voice of the vasectomites. And I just want to start today's video by reminding you wholeheartedly and from the bottom of my heart to take the time to think about and consider in a serious way getting a vasectomy. Because the information that we are going to be discussing today is going to be insightful and quite troubling. Today, I thought we could continue our time travel adventures as we proceed to move along our interactive timeline. Try to remember that time travel isn't what you think it is. While the power of foresight of the Ancient One can pierce through the time-space continuum, for most people, reality is going to appear completely unchanged and unaffected. Only you and I, my dear practitioners of the deceptive arts, can actually notice the slight ripples that cause major consequences in the lives of the multitudes, in particular the knee benders and the counterparts. Rather than dwell in the intricate philosophies and legalities of transcending time, let's rather look at what awaits you in the future should you not heed my warning and get that vasectomy. Well, for some of you, it's going to be the future. For others, it might be the past. And for many of you, it's actually happening right now. And you are living through the consequences of not having that vasectomy, particularly when you need it the most. But as you can see on your screen, today's edification is entitled 10 Common Challenges of Parenting When Raising a Child. I suppose you could just as easily call it 10 Common Consequences of Not Getting That Vasectomy. Right? Think about it in those terms, because this hilarious reading gives us a insightful, realistic, and in-depth view of what child raising actually involves, what they call the daily struggles of raising a kid. And I use the word daily specifically because this is the kind of thing that happens every day. While these issues are going to be listed in a concise way that we can read, understand, and analyze them as we always do, you have to remember these things don't happen as evenly and as balanced out as we will describe them. They don't come in order and in sequence. They come randomly in different quantities, different volumes, different strengths. And as we go through them, I want you to to think about this is you without the vasectomy, right? And I realized that in fact these are very serious issues. These are essential and critical social functions that parents must perform and overcome for the good of all society in order to raise an intelligent, productive, law abiding, tax paying citizen of the world and an adult. And while it is important and difficult and quite frankly a very sensitive task, I'd like to remind you that this suffering that you endure, this struggle, this toil, you did that to yourself. You brought this upon yourself. You see, you have no one to blame except for you. And it's troubling because what these knee benders and these counterpart, these parents, are trying to convince people is that this unfortunate set of circumstances happened to them, right? Like somebody thrust this responsibility upon them and they were powerless to prevent it. It's an act of God, as they might say, when in truth it's not. When in truth there's only one way to conceive a child, and that is through intimacy, over and over and over again, especially if you have several children, right? You've been intimate many times, and when you shouldn't have, that's when you did it the most, and you thought you'd be fine. The truth is, you thought you would be just fine. You thought you'd have these kids and you'd put them through school and educate them and give them your morals and your values, and you'd be just fine. And now look at you, looking at the 10 struggles. Yes, you did it to yourself. You took the advice of the ancient one about running and exercising and losing that belly fat, getting rid of those man boobs, right? You burned away those calories. You got your abs. You were ripped because the ancient one told you to go ahead and get fit. Put away the weights, try the running, it works, you did it, and now you were attractive and handsome and desirable. Remember that you wanted the intimacy. You wanted this. You didn't just want it, you worked hard, you worked out, you were killing it. Running 5Ks every day, raising your tempo, raising your speed, raising your distance until you made it all the way up to 10Ks every day. You were killing it, sweating, right? And you could have got a vasectomy. You could have got a vasectomy. Instead, what did you get? You went ahead and got muscles. You went and got muscles when you could have gone and frozen your sperm and got that vasectomy. But no, you took that calorie deficit and that gym body and you induced a counterpart to be attracted to you. You became handsome, you became good looking, you stopped eating that restaurant food, you were sleeping 8 hours a day. Your complexion was coming back. Your hairline was returning. After months, maybe years even, in the gym, you just couldn't wait to take your shirt off. You couldn't wait for her to see you with your shirt off. Don't tell me I'm wrong. You couldn't wait for her to see your abs. You were so proud of those abs. You wanted everyone to see what you called the definition of your abs. because you've been running and running and just burning those calories. There was nothing restricting the vision of your abs. You had all 6 of them just bulging out. Not just the 4 that regular mortals have. No, you have all 6 like a real athlete. Weren't you just proud of yourself? Weren't you proud of yourself? And when she saw those abs, when the counterpart saw your abs, she loved them. She lost her mind. She was telling other people about your abs. Imagine that. You had abs so good from all the running, from all the exercise, that your counterpart is bragging to other people about your abs. She made you Instagram official. She took you to the beach, made sure that you'd be over there in the beach, swimming, taking off your shirt, and she put you up on the gram. And now the 2 of you are Instagram official. Well, 3, you, her, and your abs. All of you are now Instagram official. And you thought you could maintain those abs forever. Everybody with abs thinks it's forever. But that running 6 days a week, the fasting, the gymming, it meant nothing without a vasectomy. It means nothing without the vasectomy. It's all gonna go. It's all gonna go. You're just setting yourself up. Every bit of success that you attain is in fact a point of contention that the counterpart can attack, even your fitness and your health, right? There you were with your shirt off, all sweaty, walking around topless, pumping testosterone and endorphins into the air to make the counterpart hot for you. You remember that? You were so proud, just strutting around with your arms waving in the air, and there's your abs. There's your abs, just responding with every move. You just came back from another triumphant run, and there's the counterpart staring at you, all hot and flustered. And it worked. And it worked. It worked perfectly. She couldn't keep her hands off you. You couldn't keep your hands off her. All day long, she's rubbing your stomach, just abs, just rubbing those abs. And you were happy like putty in her hands. Then, as if that wasn't enough, as if looking good wasn't enough, what did you do? You escalated things. You went big. You went bigger than usual. You took it to the next level. To that next level, you went and got a tattoo. You went and got a tattoo that wasn't actually corny. You went and got a real tattoo that actually made some kind of sense, that actually had a design, that you actually thought about it, that actually fit your frame, your style. And what did that do? What did that do? That induced the counterpart to want you even more, because now you have a bit of an edge about you, right? And ultimately, as usual, the both of you lost your mind. The both of you lost your mind, and you did it everywhere. You were intimate anytime, anywhere, as much as you could. And then you did it. You achieved the ultimate goal. Insemination, and you got the counterpart pregnant. When you should have went and got that vasectomy, you went ahead and got the counterpart pregnant. Fast forward a few short years, and here you are. And now you're raising kids, right? And while the tattoos remain, the abs are all gone. Now you're listening to the Ancient One, and we're about to read the 10 common challenges of parenting when raising a child. And it is going to be astronomical. when you hear what these people have to go through. Now, again, please remember, for me, this is just an academic exercise into, quite frankly, the lives of very interesting people. It's not personal. It's not personal for me. But for you, it's absolute devastation, right? You and your long gone abs and your remaining tattoos, right? When remember those tattoos? They were supposed to be a symbol of personal triumph, a indication of discipline and personal triumph, how you overcame laziness, lethargy, depression, and whatever struggles you had just come out of, a poor diet, modern living. You had overcome modern living through strife and struggle and personal triumph in the gym or wherever you work out. And now those tattoos are nothing more than a reminder of your foolishness, your recklessness, and your lack of foresight. Now you are suffering these 10 challenges of raising these damn kids that, quite frankly, you shouldn't have had. You should have known, and I say it every day, and I'm not going to stop telling you. I'm not going to stop telling you. I'm not going to be rude about it because I don't want to get banned, but I'm not going to stop telling you. There's some of you that know you shouldn't have been fathers. There's some of you that know you shouldn't have had these kids. And yet here you are suffering these 10 challenges, right? And I want you to know you're not pulling this off. You guys aren't really doing it. You're really not doing the business. I mean, this is not working out. You are losing tremendous amounts of money, which we're going to see tremendous amounts of patience, resources, but you're not developing the type of kids that you really thought that you were going to, and the economy is crushing you. If you have children in this economy, 2026 economy, oh no, that's not working out for you, right? Nothing but regrets, right? In truth, you should have just got that vasectomy, and you still can. This is the irony of it. Like I said, for some of you, this is your future. This hasn't happened yet. For some of you, this is happening to you right now, and you think it's not going to happen again. You think you're not going to have any more kids. You're going to end up with 4, 5, 6 kids all by yourself, and no one is going to come and save you, right? You can still go get that vasectomy. Learn your lesson the first time, and then go get a vasectomy. Don't wait for number 4, number 5, and then think, oh, it's not worth it. Oh, it's worth it. Even after 5, because number 6 will destroy you. So just go get it before number 6 starts coming in, right? And for those of you who what we're going to read is in your past, I want you to know it can still return. It's never over, gentlemen. The need for a vasectomy is never over. You're going to need it until the day you are no longer on this earth, and you'll probably use it every day. So no matter where you are on our interactive timeline, whether this is your past, if this is your present, this is your future, right? This is your ongoing reality, you're still going to need that vasectomy. But for those of you who are still undecided, today's article will surely give you insight as to what you can expect in your future. This is going to tell you exactly what's coming your way, right? And as we read through this, I hope that I can stop myself from laughing. This is a delightfully hilarious article. I don't think that everybody is going to appreciate the humor in it, but I will, right? I do have a particular sense of humor, and this is right along those lines. So I did, discover this in the pre-reading. Just from the first sentence, man, it just lands strong. This article, you know. So, but I do understand that for you, in fact, for most of you, this is the reality, right? For most of you, this is really what you're going to go through, and I want you to know that as I'm reading this, I am going to place my own personal amusement above your suffering. I'm not going to feel sorry for any of you, and I will never. I will never feel sorry for you, parents. Not for a single moment. I do feel something for the kids. I don't think that it's fair for the kids to be suffering or to be living in poverty. I do feel something for the kids, right? But as for the parents who made these kids, especially because I know how you made them and the circumstances under which you made them, in the nightclub bathrooms, in the back seat of the cars, in the rooftop of bars. You cannot now tell me that under those circumstances, what you require is sympathy and empathy. Because when you were in the back seat of that car, the last thing you wanted was sympathy and empathy. Because you didn't need to be up top on that roof. You didn't need to be in those nightclub bathrooms. You didn't need to be there. So knowing that you were there, doing that, celebrating life, coming out of there like you had just won a gold medal at the Olympic Games, bragging about your triumphant intimacy success. The last thing you're going to get from me is sympathy, because I know you. I know that you loved every single moment of making that child. And as far as I'm concerned, you deserve everything you're getting. You did this to yourself. You could have not been in those bathrooms. You could have not been up top in that roof. You could have not been in the back seat of that Jeep. You didn't have to be there. You could have been at home, listening to the Ancient One on YouTube and various other platforms, taking all this in and planning to go get a vasectomy. But no, you were out there in the middle of the night. Some of you ran away from your homes to go and do this debauchery. Some of you escaped from your father's house, where you were safe, where you were warm, where he had electricity. Electricity. When you left that electricity to go out into the back seat of a car. And now you're coming back expecting sympathy? Absolutely not. You brought this on yourself. And you did it against all common sense and advice. And you did it, you rebelled, you fought to be in this set of circumstances. And I will now take this moment to go through this list of your suffering and amuse myself at every single word that they describe here, because it's going to be delightful. It's going to be delightful, And again, just keep this in mind as we read through this, that you did this to yourself. This is just the irony of it. It's the irony that sits with me, as we read through this. And the best part of this is they don't just give you the problem, they offer you the solutions. Oh, it's delightful. It's delightful to know that you brought this upon yourself. That's the best part of it. That's really the best part of this article. Before we start, I wanted to give credit to the photographer. They don't actually give the photographer's name anywhere in the article or the website, But I wanted to give credit to the photographer for this delightful photo of this monstrous young lady who is screaming her lungs out, and a patient looking father, not too old but not too young, also right there in the middle of his life, blocking his ears, standing there powerlessly and helplessly. This image really captures the essence of what we are going to be reading today. I don't really give photographers too much credit, and I really should. They are really the backbone of this platform. Let's do it. 10 common challenges of parenting when raising a child. This was written by Dorothy Hastings. I believe she is the director of First School. This was written or published rather, on the 28th of April 2025, fairly recently. And it came from the website First School, www.firstschool.net. It reads, parenting is a beautiful yet demanding journey filled with love, laughter, and inevitable parenting challenges. Isn't that just a contradiction? Huh? Isn't that there they start with the contradictions? There's the beauty, the laughter, the love, and then the inevitable challenges. Didn't I tell you that this outcome was inevitable? And I tell you every day, you're not going to make it into this bachelor life. You're not going to pull it off, not without that vasectomy. I don't care what philosophy you listen to. Whatever philosophy you listen to has to lead you to a vasectomy. Your only true freedom. Dorothy continues, from sleepless nights with newborns. Sleepless nights with newborns. Oh my God. To dealing with teenage emotions. Oh, teenage emotions. Just listen to that. You did this to yourself. You starting off with sleepless nights. I cannot tell you what sleepless nights do to me. It's the worst thing. Even if I'm planning on going out all night celebrating life, what I'll generally do is I'll stay up a little bit later the night before. Try to sleep as long as I can so that I can have the energy, and try to wake up late again so that I can have the energy to stay up all night. But if I'm up 5 o'clock in the morning, there's no way I'm staying up till 5 o'clock the next day. You need to be up later on in the day, after 10 o'clock, possibly. But yes, the first thing you can expect is to deal with those sleepless nights, those crying babies, and then those moody teenagers. She says every phase, or this phases, brings common parenting problems. Modern parenting problems like screen time and academic stress. Oh, yes, the phones. Let's not forget the phones. And new layers of difficulty in today's digital age. Oof, you have no idea. You have no idea what we're all doing on this internet. It is sickening what is happening on the internet. And your kids, the first thing they're going to do is get on the internet, and what they're going to see is what it is. It continues, but with the right effective parenting strategies, these hurdles can be manageable. These hurdles cannot be manageable. You cannot manage your way through these situations. You're just heading down a path of destruction. This is what they're not telling you. It's just heading you down a path of destruction. Explore 10 parenting difficulties and practical solutions to raise a happy, well-adjusted child. You're not getting that. You're not getting that. What you are getting is number one, managing tantrums and emotional outbursts. Oh Lord. A screaming, shouting, fighting, angry, belligerent, inconsiderate child. When they say tantrums, every single day they have something to fight about. All day long, That's all they do is fight and break things and throw tantrums. It says here, tantrums are among the most common child behavioral problems, especially in toddlers. Also, they start early. I think they're cute when they're babies, apparently, but you have to deal with sleepless nights, and then they become toddlers, and then it's tantrums. Like, there's no good part of this. Just get a vasectomy, guys. They often stem from frustration, exhaustion, or an inability to express emotions. So they throw tantrums, they break things, they scream, they shout because they just don't have the words. Because you haven't taught them the words. It's going to take years for you to raise a person up. They come with nothing. These kids, they come with nothing, and you have to try and instill them with values while you try and prevent other people's values from getting into your kids. And there's really very little you can do. Here are some tips to handle a tantrum. Stay calm and avoid yelling. So when they yell, you can't yell back at them. You can't tell them to, silence. You can't express that, right? You can't express to them that you want them to remain silent. You just need to avoid yelling. How? I don't know how you're going to do that. I don't know how you're going to do that because you need to shout in order just to get their attention. And then you have to express disapproval somehow without the tools of expressing disapproval, because shouting is a tool to express disapproval, right? If I start screaming at you through this platform, you're going to know that there's something that I'm disapproving of. But if I'm speaking calmly and even joyously about what's an important issue, like managing tantrums and emotional outbursts, I mean, how are you gonna stay? How are you gonna stay calm? How are you gonna avoid yelling under those circumstances, right? Use distraction and redirection. You're probably just gonna end up giving them a phone so they can sit there quietly. This is what they're not telling you about these phones, right? Is that when you give kids the phones, they go dead quiet. They don't break things, they don't do anything. All they do is sit on their phone, quite passive and quite timid, right? It's helpful on one hand, but troubling on the other hand, right? Because now you don't want them throwing temper tantrums because they can't control their emotions. So you give them something that'll distract them, and nothing will distract them better than a smartphone. You can try a game of chess, they won't sit and play a game of chess. And if they lose, they're going to break the chessboard. You can try a book, they won't read. You just have to give them the phone, right? You just have to give them the phone. Otherwise, you're not going to get anything. And then you can always say, well, if you don't behave, I'll take away your phone, right? And they're going to hate that because they're grown dependent on that phone. So, but I don't know what else you can do. I really don't know what else you can do. And quite frankly, I really don't care. But, it's fantastic. So the first thing you're doing, other than sleepless nights, when they come out there and they become toddlers, it's just tantrums and emotional outbursts. And they're running at the same time. So it's not just that they're sitting there throwing tantrums. No, they are running in and out, up and down, on the walls, on the ceilings, breaking every single thing. And all you have is distractions and redirection. Good luck with all that. Next is to teach simple emotional vocabulary. For example, I see you're angry. So now you have to teach them how to express their emotions. Wait till they start swearing, right? You want them to express their emotions. You think they're going to be articulate? You think they're going to say, I feel despondent today. I feel a small disharmony in my spirit? Absolutely not. They are going to be using foul language as soon as they learn it. Now imagine foul language, emotional tantrums, temper tantrums, and emotional outbursts. It's gonna be delightful. And there you are, trying to remain calm, talking about, I see you're angry. Yes, yes, everyone can see they're angry. Great, great. Now you are stating the obvious with no solution, right? I don't think these are very good solutions, but it's all you have, right? And how many times are you going to stay calm? Like, are you going to do this once a week? Because they'll be breaking everything all the time, all day long. So, how long do you think you're going to stay calm? How long do you think, how many things will break before they learn how to use emotional vocabulary, right? Number four says set clear boundaries before offering comfort. So now you need to tell them, you're not allowed to go around screaming profanities and breaking things in my house. Now you get a hug. This is very confusing. I can see why this can be confusing to children in frustration. Because on the one hand, you set a boundary, but then you offer comfort for that. This can be quite confusing. Because if you set a boundary, I always say if you're going to set a boundary, you need to be willing to enforce that boundary. If you say this is a consequence, you need to enforce that consequence. But your consequences, I think, cannot be temporary consequences. So if you're going to take something away, you can't really take something away just to give it back again. You got to take it away and keep it away. And if they get like if you take away, I don't know, and let's say your child likes to play with a whistle, and you take away their whistle because they're being naughty. I mean, I'm not a parent, so don't take my advice on this, right? I'm just brainstorming. But I'm saying if you take away their whistle and then you give it back to them next week, that's not really a punishment. A punishment would be taking away the whistle and never seeing that whistle again, right? And if you want a whistle, you're going to have to make a plan and get yourself a whole new whistle. But you're not getting another whistle from me. It doesn't make sense in terms of the human mind where you set a boundary just to break it, because what's going to happen is you're going to set a boundary again and they're going to cross that boundary, and whatever punishment you give them will be short term. But every time they cross that boundary, you have to be there to enforce that punishment. Right? So whatever punishment you give them for 2 weeks now, you have to be sitting there for 2 weeks enforcing this ridiculous punishment. Right? So, and then just for things to go back to normal again, as if nothing happened. This is not change. Change is permanent. Right? Change is permanent. You don't, it's like when you move out of your house. You don't move out and then come back in again because somebody else is going to move into that house after you go, right? Or if you sell your house, somebody else is going to move into that house. So that's permanent. Change is permanent, but if you set boundaries and then you set clear boundaries while offering comfort, that's a contradiction. That's really a contradiction, but this is the advice they give you. Oh, good luck with all this, guys. Good luck with all this. You're going to do so badly at this. It's just going to collapse right in front of your face. And when you try to offer these kids comfort after setting a boundary, they're going to insult you to your face. And you're going to know they mean those insults. Because those insults are going to be relevant and poignant and directed straight at you with reason and purpose. So you're going to know they mean that insult. This is not an accident. And then them seeing you not being able to do anything about it and then offering comfort for them insulting you while you stay calm and try to redirect them using emotional vocabulary, you're going to get slaughtered. You're really not going to pull this off. It says here, you help your child develop emotional regulation skills by addressing these parenting struggles with patience. You have really no choice but to be patient. I mean, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? Especially because you've done it to yourself, you know. And I, for one, am quite happy that, your kids are just screaming in your ear, just screaming in your ear all day long. Your nerves must be so short. This is why people have PTSD from marriage and raising kids, because there's just years of just nothing but screaming, just non-stop screaming. It must be so frustrating. This is your life, people. This is your life. Setting consistent rules and discipline. So now you're a disciplinarian. The irony of this, number two, is that when you were making these kids, you thought you were breaking the rules. And now that you have these kids, you're the one who has to set the rules and set the example. It is so ironic. You thought you were such a rebel, you and your tattoos. And then you went ahead and got a woman inseminated and pregnant. Now look at you, making the rules, being a serious grown up and adult. Ridiculous. You're just pretending. You're just pretending. Because if you don't pretend, your kids aren't going to listen to you. That's the truth. They see you acting a fool, which is what you were doing when you made those kids. If they see you do that, they won't respect you. You have no control in your house. You will lose all control in your house. So now you have to be setting consistent rules and discipline. Discipline is essential, but finding the right balance between firmness and nurturing can be tricky. So now you have to be firm and disciplined and also nurturing at the same time. Good luck with that. Oh, that is such a contradiction, right? No wonder it's tricky. Of course, it's going to be tricky. You're doing two things that are practically contradicting each other. Two of the opposite things, you're trying to do them and have them make sense. And your kids can tell this doesn't make any sense. They can tell that whatever you're doing doesn't make no sense. Inconsistent rules confuse children, as does being firm but nurturing, right? And lead to more behavioral issues. Yes, this is true. Confusion is going to lead a child to, if they do something wrong, you don't confirm the boundaries. In fact, all people are like this. If they do something, if your counterpart does something that you don't approve of, and then you are firm but you're nurturing, and then you sort of want to do something to correct it, but then you correct yourself while correcting it, you regulate your correction. That's not consistent, and that's what leads to behavioral issues, quite frankly. Because on the one hand, you're saying you're not tolerating something, and then you go ahead and tolerate it, right? That inconsistency is, quite frankly, a contradiction, right? And that's what leads to this. It says effective parenting strategies for discipline. Here they are. Establish clear age priority rules, right? So every few years, you're going to have to change the rules and make them age appropriate, right? So what you're going to do is now set new boundaries for those kids to cross. You're going to be telling them, I don't want you going out drinking alcohol. I don't want you to smoke or vape or any of that. And that's exactly what they're going to do, right? The thing you tell them not to do, that's now the thing where they say, oh, okay, so I don't have to worry about those previous issues. I have now a whole new set of rules to break. Use natural consequences. No toys if they're owned or if they're thrown. I don't know what that means, use natural consequences. I suppose it means just take something away from them. But what's the point? You're just going to give it back anyway, right? Praise good behavior more than punishing bad behavior. Yeah, that doesn't work. Because you're only going to get, think about it like this. If you have a child that's constantly misbehaving, you'll be waiting days, weeks for them to do one good thing so that you can praise that thing, right? And then the rest of the time, and they're gonna forget. Whatever praise you give them is just gonna give them confidence to go and try more nonsense, right? So they'll realize that you've ignored all their bad actions and then went ahead to praise them for the one good action. So what they're learning is if for every bad 10 or 100 bad actions, I can do one good one and it's okay. No, right? You have to be consistent. You have to be consistent. You have to be able to say, get a vasectomy. This is the level. Doesn't matter how much money you have. Doesn't matter how much time you spend in the gym, how good your body's looking. Doesn't matter how many times you've read philosophy and you understand the philosophy of great thinkers. Doesn't matter. What difference does that make when she's pregnant? It doesn't make a difference. You have to stand on that standard. You have to be consistent with people. I'm just making an analogy here that's appropriate for our situation, right? And I'm not expecting kids to go get a vasectomy. But I'm saying you have to stand on the rules. And you have to have developed these rules before having kids. You can't make these up as you go along. And you can't be changing them based on changing circumstances because that's what it tells the kids. It tells the kids that when the circumstances change, so do the rules. All right. Consistently reduces parenting difficulties and helps children feel secure. I suppose that's true for all of us, right? When the laws are consistent, we all know how to behave, and if we know we are behaving within the limits of the law, then we're not really concerned. You'd only be concerned if you step outside the limits of the rules, right? But again, now you are the one making the rules when you thought you were a rebel. Isn't this just ironic? All of you going out to those nightclubs thinking you're rebels just for you to turn around in 9 months' time, 10 months' time, and start making rules telling kids that you don't want them to do the thing that you did to get them to make these kids. Isn't that just the biggest irony? Here we go, number 3, encouraging healthy screen time habits. I don't know how parents plan on really doing this, but there's a trade-off that really happens with this. The more screen time your kids have, the less likely they are to break things. Just remember that. I'm not saying I'm not a parent. I could care less what your children do on their phones or what they don't do. But effectively, you know I'm right. You know that if they're not on those screens, they're breaking expensive things that, are gonna take long to replace. So just keep them there on the screen. Let them TikTok their friends or whatever it is that they do. But yeah, this is the challenge. One of the biggest modern parenting issues is managing screen time. Excessive use can affect sleep, social skills, and attention spans. Oh, so there's also that side, right? So they're not sleeping, they're on their phones, so they're not learning at school because they're sleeping in class all the day. They don't develop skills because they're always on their phones. Attention is gone because they're always on their phones. But then again, if they're not on their phones, they're breaking things. Wow, what an impossible situation. Why would you do this to yourself? Just as a logical person, how do you balance these two things? Right? Let's find out. How to create balance. Interesting. Set daily limits based on age. So what do they do when they're not on their phones? Because, like, remember, there was a time, some of you might not remember, but there was a time before we had everything on screens. So board games, they weren't digitized. I mean, they're still not digitized. There's a lot of board games that aren't digitized, but many of them are. And, now you have to leave your house to go buy a board game and find 12 people to play with, and when you could just take your phone out and play whatever game you want. So even things like board games, books, you can get books on your phone. Whatever the entertainment value of not being on your phone is, has all been replaced by the phone, right? So when they're not on the phone, what are they doing? What is it that is there in terms of, I don't know, maybe drawing pictures, making puzzles and whatnot? I don't know. But still, what are they gonna do? You give them a 2 hour limit on the phone, and then what? Encourage outdoor play and online and offline hobbies. What are offline hobbies? Building things, Legos. But they're just gonna break things. I don't know. I think you're just looking for trouble. Encouraging outdoor play, they're going to hurt themselves and break windows. But what else can you do? They might as well just go run outside and burn some energy. Better to, break a tree branch than to, break a TV. But what happens if they hurt themselves? I guess this is what you get with parenting. It's all of these and more. Model healthy tech habits as a parent. So now you need to get off the phone. What are you going to do when you're not on the phone? This is troubling, because I have to be honest with you. Despite my maturity in age, the age of the ancient one can go up to 100 years. Despite my own maturity in age, I find that these devices they're not infinite in their capabilities, but they're actually quite useful. And they help to kill time in a meaningful way. So I'll give you an example. If I'm playing something on let's say I'm watching something on my tablet, right? Simultaneously I might be, perusing articles on my other device, right? Simultaneously. So I'm being entertained on one side, but I'm, looking up information on the other, How do you plan on circumventing that? As an adult, I mean, I can be productive, but I also use it as my downtime. It's much more entertaining playing chess against a capable AI, which makes no mistakes, compared to a human being who makes nothing but mistakes. you know so it's really a challenging situation. It's really a challenging situation trying to be a parent who models positive online behavior when you need online everything. You even need your computer for work, you know. Even if you don't work with computers, you still need it for the research and all kinds of things. I mean, we're past all this. We really are past all this healthy screen time situation, man. You just need to have a good, healthy exercise regimen so you know for an hour a day I'm going to be killing it in the gym, and then the rest of the time just proceed with confidence. But I don't know if you're going to pull this off. A life without technology? No way. No way. It says a structured approach minimizes conflicts over screens. Good luck with all that. Really good luck with all that. You're going to need, like, when I'm managing projects, I try to be task oriented. So, and results focused, right? So, I will have a task that needs to be completed. But this task also acts as a standard. And what I know is that the capable ones will reach the task first, they'll complete the task first with few mistakes. The less capable will follow suit with a few more mistakes, but of relatively good standards. And the least capable will come in last, incomplete work, and with a lot of mistakes, right? So I know that I will achieve my objective in the end. But once the objective is done, the first thing that happens is all the phones come out, right? So if you're gonna get them off the phone, this is just my own assessment of the situation. If you're gonna get somebody off the phone, you need to put something else in their hands to keep them busy. You're really gonna need to replace it immediately with something else, something that isn't food. And I don't know how you would do that outside of the work environment, right? Number four, handling sibling rivalries, or sibling rivalries is a real thing. Like what siblings do to each other is problematic. Like there's people who really don't even speak to their siblings anymore, and I can't blame them. It says your sibling conflicts are inevitable. Inevitable. See, that word means guaranteed. But constant fighting can strain family dynamics, does strain family dynamics, right? Common triggers include jealousy, competition, and attention seeking. Yes, for many reasons. And also delusions. When you think you're smarter than your siblings and they come back with higher grades, or you think you're more athletic than your siblings and you find out that the sibling who you were actually thinking you were better than all these years one day just wakes up and grows 5 inches. In just overnight, they just grow 5 inches and they're now taller, bigger, faster than you. That can cause, especially if you're like an older sibling, that can cause tension. Or if you think you're the successful one in your family, just because you're older and first, and then your siblings come in after you and they just make millions. They just kill it in a way that you can't. That can be frustrating, right? And what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? It is what it is. You just have to let your kids live their lives. But as a parent, you want to find harmony, right? And how do you foster that harmony? Avoid comparisons. Good luck with that. So even if you don't compare your kids to each other, the world will. Absolutely, right? Teach conflict resolution skills. Good luck with all that. I mean, I suppose you can teach them to make peace after they fight, but how do you prevent the fighting, right? I suppose it's conflict resolution. The resolution comes after the conflict. So, inevitable, right? These things are inevitable. Spend one-on-one time with each child. Isn't that what causes the conflict? I don't know. I really don't know. And I cannot say when, a parent goes to, attend to one child but not the other. When there's a naughty child, or a playful child who needs more attention, but you assume that the most stable child doesn't, when it's the playful child who doesn't need the attention. They just need to burn energy, and it's the one that's the introvert that probably needs most of the attention. And you're going to get this wrong as a parent. You're absolutely going to get this wrong. You're going to misread all those cues. And later it's going to come out. Your kids are going to tell you that's not what I meant and that's not what I wanted. And how are you going to bring that together? By teaching conflict resolution skills. These conflict resolution skills are helpful for adults in professional environments, not for kids at home, right? You don't actually say, well, we're teaching our kids conflict resolution skills today. No way. No way. The kids are just going to insult you. And I'm right. Addressing these parenting struggles early helps build lifelong sibling bonds. Nah, those bonds can break anytime. They can break anytime. They can break as adults. They can start off all right as kids and then they can break apart as adults. Really, there's no way of controlling that. But this is what's waiting for you in your future. You can expect your kids to just be going at it, while throwing tantrums. Imagine. Just get a vasectomy, man. Just get a vasectomy. Your next challenge is going to be managing parental stress and burnout. So you're going to be stressed, you're going to be exhausted, you're going to burn out. Or imagine after all of that, you still burn out and exhaust your strength. It says, parenting stress is real. Yes, it is. Get a vasectomy. And burnout can affect your ability to care for your child effectively. Burnout will affect your ability to care for your child or anything effectively. When the brain, let me explain it to you like this. When your muscles, your physical muscles are exhausted, you feel pain. When your brain is exhausted, you make mistakes. Like simple things become complicated, difficult tasks, which tells you that your brain is tired. So if you are experiencing burnout, it means that you'll be constantly making mistakes, tragic mistakes. So what do you need to do? You need to keep your energy up by following these self care tips for parents. Listen to this. Take short breaks when needed. Really, really. You think you're going to be able to take breaks with two, three, four kids? No way. You won't even have a chance to take a nap. You'll have to wait for everybody to go to sleep first, and then you can sleep. And by then, it's 16, 17 hours later. You're not getting a break as a parent. You will never get a break as a parent. Breaks as parenting is not really part of the job. It's not really what you do. You don't take breaks, right? If you could take breaks, why are you burning out? Why are you experiencing burnout? So now you're going to be exhausted. This is why you can't trust benders, by the way, because they're always coming in exhausted, right? And sometimes, like, I'll look at a person and think, man, this guy must have bad habits. He's probably staying up all night, or he's probably out drinking and partying, when in truth you probably just have kids. And it's something that I really never considered, is that people are staying up because they have kids. It says share responsibility with a partner or support network. And it takes a village. That's what they're saying here. It takes a village. Now you need a village. Now you're involving other people. See, this is the problem. This is the problem right here. Now you're involving other people. You didn't involve us when you were making these kids. You wanted us out of the room when you were making the kids. But now you want to share your responsibilities with a support network. Now we involved in your kids? No, that's not fair. This is my problem right here. When you people realize just how hard parenting is, then now you want the government to get involved. You didn't want the government involved when you were in the back of the Jeep, when you were in the nightclub bathroom, when you were up top the roof. You didn't want the government involved. You didn't call for your support network. But now those bills are killing you. You found out what the tuition is and what that after school care costs. And now you're saying, oh, well, we need a support structure. Absolutely not. You're in it. You did it to yourself. You are on your own. Figure it out. Practice mindfulness or light exercise. Yeah, that's not happening. You're not getting any exercise. If you do, I think that's great, but that's just going to exhaust you more. You already have 4 kids. Now you're going to go run 5 kilometers too and raise 4 kids. People really underestimate what the real problem is with exercise. The real problem is that when you're done, you feel tired, which is why I personally will exercise the last thing in the evening. So I will do nothing after I exercise. But effectively, you're not raising 5 kids doing a full-time job, raising 4 kids doing a full-time job, being a husband, being a wife, and then going to crack an hour of exercise in the gym. You're not getting that. You're not getting that. It says a well-rested parent handles the challenges of parenting better. A well-rested person handles most challenges better, right? Exhaustion is really going to be a problem. So you can expect to be exhausted too. Dealing with academic pressure. When you find out that your kids are failing in school, and a lot of kids are struggling in school, man, your kids are struggling in school. When you find out that your kids are failing, you're not prepared to deal with that. You're really expecting your kids to kill it every day in school, at least to be focused in school. But your kids are sleeping in the class. If your kids come home and they have energy in the afternoon, it means they were sleeping all day at school, right? So, dealing with academic pressure. School related stress impacts both kids and parents. Yeah, I bet. Pushing too hard can backfire, while being too relaxed may lead to underperformance. When your kids are underperforming, it's going to force you to push them too hard. But the truth is that, you know, that pushing too hard may lead to underperformance, right? And then underperformance is gonna lead you to push too hard, which might overwhelm the kid. You know, there's really it's very difficult. It's very difficult to do this. I suggest just bribing your kids. Just tell them that, if they go to school, put in that work every week and they can show you something. If they pass the next test, if they bring you a passing grade, for every passing grade they give you, you'll give them $100. For every passing grade they get in their report card, you'll give them a 50. That is an incentive. I say just bribe them. But for you to expect that the joy of academic performance is going to be a motivator to all kids, it's really not. It's really not. Even myself, the joy of academic performance only came later in life when I saw the promise of payment. I knew that the better I performed academically, the better the chances of me earning an income and earning a useful skill that I could utilize across in various different ways in various different platforms, right? Online and in reality. That gave me incentive to work hard. But just the idea and also the fear of repeating a grade, right? So I didn't want to repeat a grade, but I also later knew that I wanted to make a lot of money, right? So it encouraged me to work harder. But without that incentive, you're really not going to get the best out of your kids. It's going to be very difficult. And they say you shouldn't bribe your kids, but what else are you going to do, right? Again, we're just having a social conversation. I don't have no kids. I'm not bribing anyone. Um, where are we? It says here, raising a child, tips for academic balance. Let's see. Focus on effort rather than grades. Yeah, that's going to be a problem. That's going to be a problem because sometimes their effort is not equal to the grades. You want them to focus on getting those grades because you don't, your teachers don't reward effort, they reward the correct answer. Create a structured home routine. Get your kids a tutor, man. If you can afford a tutor, an hour of work, of study at home is really worth three in the classroom, right? An hour of personal study at home is worth three in the classroom. And to get them to do that one extra hour is really worth it. I'm just saying from like my own personal experience, that extra hour really goes a long way, right? So you don't need a tutor there for 3, 4 hours. You just need them there really to help the kid with the homework and to refocus their attention. Get them to do the homework, get them to do the preparation for the next assessment, test, whatever, and move on. Right? You don't need them there for 3, 4 hours a day. 1 hour is more than enough in the afternoon. But you're gonna pay for that hour. You're really gonna pay for that hour. But you really wanna get those grades up. Right? You really want to get those grades up because that's where the success will come. When the grades go up, the effort will come. And that structured home routine, get someone to supervise that. You don't want your kids to be supervising their own learning, right? They're really not going to do anything. And whoever you get to do that, get them to demonstrate the results. So you want to see what your kids are doing, what you want them to be productive. Encourage breaks and extracurricular activities. Um, Maybe, if your kids are already performing well, extracurricular activity might help that. If your kids are not performing, it's probably because they have too many extracurricular activities. There's a balance, I'm sure, that a parent will have to find, and I don't think you're going to find it, if I'm being perfectly honest. Right? A supportive approach reduces pressure while promoting learning. Um, I think you just need to try and get your kids to get the grades in whatever manner, whatever circumstance that they can, right? Because we know the situation. It's learning, it's academic, but even in there's different circumstances, and you really want your kids to get those grades up. The last thing you want them to do is to work hard and then they come back after working really hard and get a failing grade, because that's going to decrease their momentum, right, and their motivation. It's going to blow the air right out of their balloon. There's nothing worse than working hard and then failing in the end, right? So you want to make sure that their hard work is always rewarded with a good grade. Number seven, managing behavioral problems. Oh, this is a big one and a constant one. By the way, these issues are not happening sometimes. This is not one thing once in a while. You're experiencing all of this. You're experiencing burnout every day. So you're hitting 100% of your energy every single day. You are dealing with academic problems every week, every month, every term, depending on how often they get tested. In some schools, they'll have a test every second week for some subjects, right? Others will be monthly and whatever. You need to be dealing with this all the time. You need to be on top of this all the time. Behavioral problems, if your kid is misbehaving, that means there's no place where they're behaving correctly. The only place where they're behaving correctly are probably places that induce fear in them. It says managing behavioral problems. Some behavioral problems are normal, while others may need professional guidance. Professional guidance. How to address them? It says use positive reinforcement. Okay, so the theory of positive reinforcement effectively works like this. When you want someone to be good at something, you give them credit for that thing, and thereby they will go and prove themselves and then become good at it, right? So if you say to someone, man, you actually have a nice handwriting, because they believe they have a nice handwriting, it'll encourage them to write more. When what you want them to do is to write more, right? So instead of saying, well, oh, I like it so much when you write more, right, which is manipulation and it's too direct, and direct manipulation never really works well. You want to say to them, well, I really like your handwriting. I'd like to see it more often. And the only way to see it often is to get them to write more. Now, positive reinforcement can work, particularly if the person doesn't know that they're being manipulated, right? So you really want to come at this in a very structured and deceptive way, but it absolutely works, right? It absolutely works. Communicate with teachers if issues persist. Maybe if the school can help, sure. But what you want to do is you want to contain your child before the police do. So, it's going to be you, the school, and then it's the police. So if the school cannot contain your child, the teachers, the principals, and all that society, the parents cannot control the child in the family, right? The next level is going to be government. There's nothing between parents and government. right? There's nothing between parents and government. So if the parents cannot contain the child, the next level is prison. Communicate, okay, yeah, so we've just done that. Communicate with teachers if issues persist. Seek help if behaviors are extreme, for example, aggression and violence. I don't know what you do if you have a violent, aggressive child. I really don't know how you could manage that situation. However, it is known that you do not respond violently to a child. No matter what happens, you really don't want to hit a child, because what happens is that your child associates violence with problem solving, thereby later inadvertently becoming a criminal. So if you have a son and your son has a problem and you use corporal punishment or violence in order to resolve your son or to change his behavior, what will happen later is that he may encounter his spouse who has a behavior that he doesn't like. And in order to induce change, he may resort to violence, inadvertently becoming a criminal. Not knowing that violence was an extreme measure, he will just associate it with normal problem solving skills. So I'm really not sure how you're going to try and deal with this. But, you know, you do have to contain them before the police do, right? You do need to keep your if you have an aggressive violent child, you need to keep that child contained until that aggression can go, because if you don't, they're going to jail. That I absolutely guarantee you. Parents are not going to sit around while your child is beating their children. They're not going to tolerate that, right? So you need to find a way to contain, especially the violent ones. You need to find out first, is your kid violent? And then you need to find a way to contain them before the police get there. Early intervention helps manage child behavioral problems effectively. I hope so. I hope so. But also, you got to remember, if your child is violent, they're probably violent every day. So the chances of them getting into trouble really increase exponentially, right? So, yeah, you want to prevent this as early and as definitely as you possibly can, if you can. So, next is maintaining a strong parent child bond. Uh, the parent child bond is going to break eventually, right? So, it probably lasts, from maybe infancy, childhood, all the way maybe to just before adolescence. But eventually, at adolescence, kids think that they can go their own way, and of course, they are completely wrong. This is when they start to rebel. So, that child parent bond, you can forget all about that. A strong emotional connection is the foundation of good parenting. Also, bad parenting, by the way. You can make your kids very angry in an emotional and passionate way. They may never forget. It says ways to strengthen your bond, right? So, how to build a bond with your kids. Spend quality time daily, reading, playing. You see, there we go again. Trying to get them off the phones, trying to get them to read a book. Maybe, I don't know. I like reading myself, but I don't know if your kids will, right? Playing might be helpful, right? I don't know what games you're playing with your kids. You're probably just going to be on the PlayStation anyway, right? Unless your kid has like some outdoor athletic talent. But yeah, like a nice game, a nice sport, that might be entertaining, right? So now you got to start playing basketball again. You're going to hurt yourself, by the way. It's one thing for the kids to play and you be present, but when you try to play along with them, you're probably going to have to hold back or hurt yourself. Listen actively without judgment. Good luck with all that. These kids, they'll say anything, and they'll be rude. So you do have to correct them somehow, and correction is judgment. Then it says show affection and verbal appreciation. I think every parent loves their kids, but you just don't like some of the things that your kids do. So, you can always tell them, I love you, but you got to stop stealing. I don't know. What do you do What do you do? I still love you even if you're a thief. Good luck with all this. These are all the things that you're going through. I'm not really offering any solutions here because I don't know what you're going to do. Really, I don't know how you're going to try and maintain that strong bond, especially with these online kids who, quite frankly, are. I mean, if you thought that the Gen Xers were heavily influenced by media, I mean, they're still acting like MTV is a thing. They still dress like it's the 90s and early 2000s, still wearing baggy jeans, and it's like it's their uniform of life. So what you're seeing that's influencing your children, they're gonna be acting this out all the way until full grown adulthood. It says here, and you have to show affection through all that and verbal appreciation, by the way, just to conclude my thought. A secure attachment makes handling parenting challenges easier. I hope so, but that may also cause dependency. Number nine, teaching responsibility and independence. As you know, the bachelor life, we are fully against responsibility. Don't go taking responsibility for anyone, guys. These responsibilities are never ending and ongoing, as you can see by this very detailed list of all the nonsense that you're going to be going through as a parent if you don't get that vasectomy. Now you got to be teaching responsibility and independence. Oh no. Oh no. Kids need guidance to become self sufficient. This is true. But as to whether you're the person who should be guiding them, that is open for debate. Because also, like, they don't tell you about the personality of these parents. Maybe that's something we should look into. The personality of failed parents. But I'm absolutely sure that some of the guidance that you give your children has led them down the wrong path. That's why some of these kids think that they can have work life balance because you taught them that was an important thing. Now they don't even want to do overtime, extra time every time. They want to just go home and have nap time, right? That's not happening. Guys, you're not getting work life balance. You got a childhood. That's what you got. You get a childhood and then you go to work. But and if you don't go to work, that's a problem. That's going to be a serious problem. It says how to encourage responsibility. I don't encourage responsibility. I encourage you to be responsible for yourself. As soon as you're responsible for other people, you're going to be out here trying to maintain strong parental child bond. And that's not going to happen, right? Assign age appropriate chores. Your kids aren't going to do the chores, right? Kids hate doing chores, right? So whatever chores you give them to do, they either won't do them or they're going to do them terribly. Let them make small decisions. Never let a child make any decisions. Whatever decision a child makes, even if it's the same as yours. So, yes, this is the point I'll make. Whatever decision a child makes, even if it's the same as yours, it's probably the wrong decision. So if you find yourself in a situation where you're making a decision and the child agrees with you, then you got to know there's something wrong with that decision. There's some information missing or some details missing because kids are always wrong. They are wrong about every single thing. The information that you think, well, this kid is smart, look how well he's doing in school. All he's doing is repeating the information that he's learned. That's all. You learn something, you memorize it, you repeat it. You learn something, you understand it, you explain your understanding. That's it. This is not the same as real life, real world concepts and understanding, right? These kids, they don't understand nothing. So whatever decision they make, you can be certain it's wrong. And if you make a decision and a child agrees with that, or a child makes a decision and you agree with that, you need to be very concerned. Allow natural consequences for getting homework. I don't know what natural consequences. Okay, allow natural consequences. So when they do something and they mess it up, let them live out the consequences of their decisions. Really, you gotta let them live out the consequences of their decisions. But then it's gonna be a question of, well, why weren't you there to protect and provide, knowing that there are gonna be consequences to actions, right? I it's difficult. It's really difficult. But there's a point where you have to understand that you cannot live people's lives for them, even the people that you make. But ultimately, I think as a parent, you're responsible for what your kids do, especially since you brought them into this world. Both of you should go to jail if something goes wrong, right? I know the law doesn't work that way, but I hold parents fully accountable at all times. Like, you should have just got a vasectomy. Here's the solution that I'm giving you: get a vasectomy so you don't have to be dealing with any of these things. And if you don't get that vasectomy, well, you're doing it to yourself. You are the cause of the problem. And you need to be allowed to face your natural consequences. These effective parenting strategies build confidence and accountability. The parents need to be accountable, man. You know, if your kids are out here doing all kinds of things, you need to be accountable to those kids. And the last one: adapting parenting styles to changing needs. What works for toddlers won't work for teens. That's absolutely true. Flexibility is key. So you need to be improving your tolerance as you grow older. So they go from, extreme mood swings and temper tantrums and uncontrollable moods to just sheer monsters. Teenagers are monsters. Teenagers are uncontrollable. They have the energy, and some of these kids is bigger than their parents, so, and stronger. So they have the energy, they have the power, they have the reflexes, and then those emotions and chemicals, those endorphins, that testosterone is just pumping at 110%. You're not controlling a teenager. You're not controlling a teenager. What you see in the movies, those are adults acting as teenagers. So they have that sort of control because they're in their 20s already. They just act like, high schoolers, right? Because some of them are, really college kids. You really can't really tell the difference when they're in their casual clothes. Who's a college kid and who's a high school kid? Especially 18, 19 years old. You really can't tell that difference, right? But these teenagers, man, you're not controlling a teenager. You're not controlling a teenager. I'm just telling you the truth. Like, there are people who say you love your kids. That doesn't mean you control your kids. No way. There's no way you're controlling a teenager under any circumstances. Right? There's, and especially the good ones, that means they are the ones that are good at hiding secrets. Those good teenagers, man, they got all the secrets. You want to get inside that phone and see what's going on. But here are some parenting tips for toddlers and teens. It says toddlers: set simple rules and offer choices. You're offering these kids choices? I don't know about that. They're always going to choose the wrong choice. For teens, encourage open discussion and respect privacy. Sure, I guess. Good luck with all that. I don't know if that's gonna work. I don't know. I don't know. I'm not raising no teenagers. Never, ever, ever. I'm just making observations here. And for me, this is not a thing that I want to do. I do not want to be having encourage open discussions with teenagers. No, no. There are circumstances in life where you may work with teenagers. And I've worked on projects with some young people. And I have to say, professionally, I respect most young people. Like, most people professionally are just, amazing. Amazing people, right? Even the benders, I give them credit all the time for their professional work, right? All the time. And I warn people, don't underestimate a knee bender. Knee benders are educated, qualified, experienced professionals. in every aspect of their professional life. They are killing it. They got the money, they got the connections, they got the power. They really, really run this world. It's just their private lives, man. Your private lives are a mess, guys. You're not getting any sleep. Your kids are out here not taking responsibility. They're throwing temper tantrums and all kinds of things. And while professionally you're killing it, look at what you're going through in your private life. And we can't overlook these things, man. You know, and number three says, stay open to learning new approaches. Adapt. Adapting reduces parenting difficulties as your child grows. No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. You just come to accept that this is an impossible task. This is what you see with most parents. They just surrender, man. After 15 years of this, you just realize this is not getting easier. And don't let your kids get pregnant. Don't let your kids get pregnant. If you want to know what a headache is, a problem child. A problem child is a child who went and got pregnant, or went and got somebody pregnant. Don't let your kids have kids, especially when they're teenagers. It is a catastrophe. It is an absolute catastrophe, and you don't need to be dealing with that. Right? What you need to do is you need to go get your vasectomy. You need to go freeze your sperm and get a vasectomy and protect your seed. This was a very detailed list, a very detailed article, and it broke it all down. To me, this all sounds like misery. And you're more than welcome to visit their website and read this information for yourself. The website is already mentioned. And see if you can tolerate and handle this. For me, I cannot. I know my limits, and my limits start the minute the child is born. Then I'm far outside my comfort zone. And for those of you who think you can handle raising a kid, I'm here to tell you that you're not. I'm here to tell you that you're going to destroy this and you're going to ruin your own life. And you'll have no one to blame. This is the truth. This is the truth. You don't want to be there in that situation, having never heard this, right? Wondering why nobody told you it was going to be hard. The ancient one told you it was going to be hard. I told you it was going to be hard. I told you it was going to be hard. As it's going to be. It's going to be so hard. I'm telling you, you can go to war, come back and survive a war. You can go to prison and come back and survive a war. You're not surviving this. You're going to burn out before the action even starts. Burnout was earlier in the list, and then you just have to adapt. You don't need to do that. You need to get a vasectomy and protect yourself, and protect your seed, and protect your solitude. Because this is what you have to go through, right? And I don't want this for you. I really don't want this for you, right? So go ahead, get that vasectomy and do the right thing. This is the end of the video, and I want to thank you for your time and your attention. I really appreciate it, and I always will. I am the Ancient One, the Bachelor Supreme, and I wish you a very nice day. Thank you.